Hey guys, so imperialism is the build-up of an empire in order to establish a trade agreement between those countries that have raw materials that you want and places to be able to trade what you produce with. Empires have been established throughout the world from the late 1400s through until the early 1900s. Those countries with the greatest resources often had the greatest empires. Some of the empires that existed in the late 1800s, so from 1850 through until 1914, were places like the British Empire, the French Empire, the German Empire a little bit, the Russian Empire, the Portuguese had one, the Spanish had one. So they spread across the entire world and established colonies in places like Australia and New Zealand, in Canada, South Africa. There were lots of small colonies of large European empires in the Southeast Pacific, so places like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, the Koreas were all different colonies of a European empire at some point in time. So colonies are really useful because they can supply raw materials that you can't find in your own home country. So for example, Britain's quite small. It doesn't have a lot of natural resources including gold, diamonds. It doesn't have a lot of very rich fertile soil that you can grow spices in. So the establishment of an empire was really important for Britain during the 1700s, 1800s and 1900s. Through the establishment of an empire, Britain didn't just have somewhere to send their convicts like they did to Australia, but places like China and Hong Kong were able to supply foods and spices which weren't available in Europe at that point in time. So empires are really important because they provide an opportunity to trade, but they also provide an opportunity for defence. So places like the British and the French empires would form colonies throughout smaller nations, and when called upon, those smaller nations would send soldiers to be able to defend the empire. So at the outbreak of World War I, the British Empire called upon Australia, they called upon Japan, New Zealand, Canada to be able to send across troops. One of the benefits, again, of having such a strong empire is that you can trade ideas as well. However, the downfall of empires is twofold. One, the indigenous populations are often repressed or oppressed through the establishment of an empire because it's often considered that home country is better or more advanced than the colony. And added to that is that those colonies actually have to be defended somehow. So you would need to establish a regime or a government which supports the empire in order to maintain that control over that area. At the end of the 1800s, Germany had formed for the very first time into a country, and in order to establish itself as a major political player as well as increase its economy, they were looking for places to colonise. The only way that they were going to be able to gain land, however, was by either invading other countries or by taking colonies off of other countries. So the outbreak of war, in some regards, is because of imperialism, for the simple fact that Germany needed more land, Britain and France didn't want to give it up.